It's the Crypto Rocker! And we're back, and crypto is going down! Hi-oh! Just kidding. Well, let me rephrase that. Crypto is having a little bit of a cool-off period. And the reason is because of the fact that it appears that it was kind of a sell the news event. Not too big. We certainly didn't have some kind of a big crash, but we were expecting sort of a cool-off after. Because if you remember, in the 2 months leading up to this ETF approval, there's been all this talk and lots of buying action coming in anticipation of it. People are buying Bitcoin. Even the big companies like BlackRock, they're buying Bitcoin. And it sent Bitcoin from like $26,000 up to like $48,000, okay, over the course of the past couple of months. So you get a big pump like that over the course of a few months, you're going to have a pullback. You're going to have a cool-off period. So now the ETF was approved. Of course, you had the whole SEC Twitter fiasco where they, Gary Gensler comes out and says that they had their, that they got hacked. I don't know how much confidence to put in that. So anyway, if you didn't hear about that, apparently some guy hacked the SEC's Twitter account, and the hacker got on and basically said that the ETF had been approved when it hadn't. And so the SEC had to come out, and Gary Gensler had to come out and say, no, it hasn't been approved. So there was a big pump and dump, and that happened on the 9th. Then the very next day on the 10th, then the ETF did get approved officially. And now we're past that. Now we're all the way to, it's January 12th. We're 2 days after the approval. And so that news has hit. It's had a chance to sink in. The markets have absorbed the buying action, and now we're going through a cool-off period. Bitcoin is down to like 43 now. It went up to 48. Now it's cooling off. It's coming down to 43. Rest of the altcoins, they're kind of in a cool-off phase, and there's no more real news on the horizon except for the Bitcoin halving, which is coming in April. And that, in the past, I'm not really sure. I'm going to have to check into that and take a look and see how much buying action comes in before the halving, because usually what happens is what happened in times past is that the halving would occur, and then 6 months after the halving is when you get the big blow off tops and the bull market's really in full swing. So if it stays true to the past 4-year cycles, that's what's going to happen. The halving is going to occur in April, and then the buildup is going to occur afterwards, going into quarter 3 and quarter 4 of 2024, and then on into 2025. Okay, so that's the news for today in crypto, basically. Going through, like I said, a little bit of a cool-off period. Let me check and see what the markets are looking like right now. Yeah, Bitcoin's down to $43,500, okay? Cardano is down to 55 cents. It had topped out at like 64 cents. But this is a good thing. This is definitely a good thing. It's a good thing for anybody else that wants to get in. And it's a good thing because you don't want to see... Oh, and that's another thing I was going to talk about. Now that these big players are involved, now that this ETF has been officially approved, and you've got now avenues, and the doors are wide open now for investors to come in. And you've got the big players involved now. You got BlackRock, you got Fidelity. And my guess is that there are a bunch of companies that are refusing, their holdouts. And from what I understand, they're losing customers in droves. They're losing many customers. Many of these customers of these companies who are saying, no, we're not going to allow our investors to get into Bitcoin. We believe that it's too volatile and it's not in keeping with our long-term investment goals. So a lot of customers of theirs are saying, okay, you're not going to allow me exposure to these new and vital markets, and they're taking their entire portfolios and they're leaving these companies and they're going over to other companies like BlackRock and Fidelity so that they can get exposure to these new markets, because people want exposure to these markets. They know what the future is. They see the writing on the wall. They know what's going to happen. So my guess is that these companies are going to be forced to adapt and come over. Okay, and I imagine this has happened at every single time there's been any kind of a revolution in thinking in society. I imagine for a long time, as the auto industry got started, there were a lot of holdouts who were saying, nope, we're not going to get on board with this. We're going to stick with the horse and buggy. And eventually they got forced. Same thing happened. I'm sure there was probably some video store manager out there who probably said, nope, we're not going to, this Netflix thing ain't going to last. We're going to keep our video store open. We're going to keep renting tapes. And eventually they didn't have one customer coming in the store. That was it. So that's what's going to happen. They're going to be forced to come over. They're going to be forced to list the Bitcoin ETF on their exchange. Okay. So anyway, what I was saying about when the big boys get involved, when the big boys get involved in something like what's happening now with Bitcoin, a couple of things. First of all, I think that they are doing their part to make sure that there's not an initial explosion in the price of Bitcoin. I think they're keeping things under wraps, which is why you're not seeing Bitcoin shoot right up to $300,000 right off the bat. I also think that they are, since they're in the game now and these people play with trillions of dollars, they're not going to sit there and allow their customers to get involved in Bitcoin and then watch the price go tanking down to freaking, some insanely low level, which it probably wouldn't anyway. I guarantee it. There's a lot of people out there, both retail and institutional investors, who would, if Bitcoin dipped to like 35,000, they'd be right in there buying it up because they know. So they're not going to allow Bitcoin to crash too much. What I'm saying is I think once they get involved, they try to keep the prices stable. Now they can't control other people buying in, like if the Prince of Saudi Arabia gets up one day and just decides, hey, I'm going to buy $800 billion worth of Bitcoin just to mess with the world market on Bitcoin. He could do that. He could do it. Just like that. And apparently what happened yesterday was it was the biggest trading day ever for any ETF that had ever been passed. It was like a record-breaking day for trading. And then they're expecting that this is going to just be sort of a consistent thing, as time goes by. So it's day one, we're 2 days now in. The ETF has been approved. It's been 2 days now. We're going to see what happens week after week, month after month. But I think it is definitely it's opened all the doors. So as much money as wants to come in can come in and start investing in Bitcoin. And we are in the bull market now. It's, quarter one, 2024. This year is already setting up to be a year of volatility, and a lot of stuff's going to be happening. You've got the halving coming up in April. You got the presidential election coming up. Yeah, it's going to be exciting times. So that's it for me for today, for the Crypto Rocker. See you guys next time.